Tvrtko, please take your floor.
Thank you. Da bi se zrušile šejtelegradske gore, da bi se videlo šej malo Međimorje, da bi se zrušile telegradske gore, da bi se videlo šej malo Međimorje. Now I can go home. Thank you. I'm invited here to talk about living heritage, intangible cultural heritage. I don't have a PowerPoint, so I had to perform to wake you up. So living heritage as intangible heritage at risk, endangered from the moment of selection. Croatia was the 17th country that ratified the UNESCO Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2005. It was a very important step for Croatia in the international recognition, and at the same time it was important on the national level in recognition of our expert knowledge in cultural anthropology, ethnology, folklore research and dialectology, with results that are internationally confirmed. With the materials of this conference, you got a catalogue of the exhibition about the intangible cultural heritage prepared by the Ethnographic Museum in Zagreb and the Ministry of Culture, with 17 inscribed elements on all three lists of the convention: representative list, urgent safeguarding list, and the list of good practices. So we can speak about 15 years of experiences in implementation of the convention, and from its beginning we had a lot of questions to ourselves. It seems to me that now we have even more questions, or better to say, some of them are new and always unexpected. From the moment of its recognition and selection, intangible heritage is at risk because of its dynamic nature as living heritage. Its liveliness makes it completely different than moments from the World Heritage List. Of course, we look at all types of heritage in a broader historical, social, and natural surroundings and landscapes. But intangible cultural heritage is in constant change, depending on the changes in our everyday life. Or in other words, it reflects the social relationships that are subject to daily change. As experts in the field of living heritage, we are aware of the risks that this heritage is exposed to at all levels on a daily basis. I will point out some of them because each case is specific and on its own way is a special one. As we heard about the recent experiences during and after the homeland and or independence war in Croatia, we had a huge material destruction. We also lost forever some people with their knowledge in traditional handicrafts. Post-war circumstances had generally negative influences on culture according to weak economic situation. But on the other side, that kind of negative conditions were sometimes a trigger for the local communities to revive or recover some knowledge that was forgotten or neglected not only during the 1990s, but even much longer, during more than 50 years of socialist regime, especially for traditions that were connected with religious life, rituals, and customs. Local cultural and religious identity, as well as national, have been strongly expressed at that time as a result of these difficult circumstances and time. I will mention one of the good examples of and practices here in Dubrovnik and Konavle region in surroundings here. Deša Dubrovnik is a regional center for community building and civil society development, a humanitarian and peacekeeping organization founded in 1993, aiming to stimulate and develop various activities in order to help a woman and her family in the war and post-war period. Women from Konavle, the small region around the airport, we came all, had a great respect for the tradition of breeding silkworms and making silk. It was a part of their regional identity and a family tradition to which they remained loyal. You can see silk worked and embroidery into Konavle folk dress most often on aprons, caps, waistcoats, suits, and elsewhere. Up until the 1960s, almost everyone in the Konavle region made silk, but then the tradition started to die out. It is thanks to the hard work and dedication of a small number of local women that the tradition managed to survive and be passed on for a few more generations. However, the war in 1990s abruptly robbed the women of Konavle of their homes and livelihoods. If it hadn't been for a lady named Jani Hansal from the Desha organization with the Silk Project revival of sericulture, revitalizing traditional of silk production, who managed to bring the silkworms back to Konavle, the silk-making tradition may now be just a memory. Almost 20 years ago, the silkworms, called bubice, returned to Konavle, smuggled in from France. Today, around 10 families in Konavle raise them. During the month of May, the time when the silkworms feed, workshops on producing silk are held throughout Konavle. A similar project was very successful with financial help from the Ministry of Culture in Slavonia on the north of Croatia after the natural disaster, the flood of the river Sava in 2014. Our colleagues, again from the Ethnographic Museum in Zagreb and from the Department for the Restoration and Rent of Folk Costumes, reconstructed traditional costumes from those villages, working with women, local bearers of the knowledge in these villages on the reconstruction of the costumes that are still very important part of their identity. We also have a strong tradition of the folklore festivals that started in Croatia between the two world wars in 1920s and 1930s. Through applied work of experts on local and regional festivals, a lot of traditions, songs, dances, and even customs were safeguarded to these days. In addition to these examples of good practices, I would like to come back to the issue of change in line with the daily change of our lives. Who is considered as the bearer of traditions of local communities? The last example I will mention was very actual last month during the carnival time at one of the international agricultural fairs in Berlin, the Green Week. The organizers who were there in charge to represent Croatia among other partners for the exhibition wanted to present a group of carnival bell ringers, zvončari, from Kastav region near the city of Rijeka that you maybe heard about as the European cultural capital nowadays. Carnival bell ringers, you can find it also here in the book, are on the ICH element inscribed on UNESCO representative list of humanity. The group was ready to go to Berlin, but their condition was to have a group of 20 people because it's impossible to perform with less than 20 people, you know, that's their tradition there in the village. Obviously, it was too expensive to organizers, and they found another group of people, of 6 people, members of the cultural club in Zagreb that have borrowed costumes and can perform a choreography for the stage and represent a part of the bell ringers' traditions. When the local community of the bearers from Kastav region saw that somebody else represented them and on the way that was unacceptable for them as the bearers of these traditions, that makes them very angry, crazy. And of course, that was not the first time that some urban folk dance ensemble, amateur or professional, represent some local traditions as a piece of art on the stage without deeper meaning for the performers. When we know the convention primarily wants to promote and safeguard local traditions and their bearers, then we know that is the wrong way and false way of representation. On the other side, with tradition of more than 100 years of folklore festivals that evolved over time, we are not able to say to any performing group or ensemble that they are not able to present someone else's tradition. These questions are still open and will take a lot of time more to find out the answers. Because in time before the UNESCO Convention, the same choreography has been performed in the theater or on the stage for decades, and no one from the Castave region cares at all. But now, when they are recognized by the UNESCO, they become more aware of their own values. They ask for help from some experts, and we have to find answers. The questions of how to define local community, community of bearers of traditions, has been raised again and again. Am I allowed to present singing or dancing? And I'm not a real bearer. And how to organize the safeguarding measures without taking a role of guardians, cultural police officers, or cops with negative sign. At the end, maybe you heard recent news about the Belgium carnival in Aalst that has been withdrawn from the representative list of the same convention because of anti-Semitic messages. That has been denied by the mayor of Aalst, who concluded these days that he tried to avoid escalation as there was animosity, but the parodies cannot be labeled as anti-Semitic. We had a similar example in Croatia, where in one of the small towns, the gay couple was burned as the carnival sacrifice that has been negatively commented by some politicians in public. We had an example of traditional ox decapitation as well, that has been rejected by the locals after the huge negative reaction through the media 20 years ago on the neighboring island of Korčula, near Dubrovnik here. I'm sure that these questions will take a lot of further discussions, because what was normal to be publicly presented as traditional even 10 years ago, according to improvement in looking into human rights, is not normal anymore. What is at risk now? Heritage or human being? How to present our identities from past as living tradition from generation to generation? With resilience, of course. Thank you.